And you would feel hopeless, especially that second night where you're like, another call, we haven't slept a wink. And I'd be angry at the supervisors. I'd be angry at the dispatchers. Like, we would call the supervisors at certain points and be like, hey, we're not running another call. And for me to get to that point of like confrontation, because I don't like confrontation at all. So for me to get to a point where I'm telling a supervisor like, hey, we're not safe to run a call, like I was at my wit's end. And I've just never been at my wit's end like that before or since, really.
That there is the problem, which led to my burnout, is that I have a very, like, I absolutely respect your ability to do that. And I would call and rage against the supervisors, but I would never ask for time off, because that was a type of, at the time I perceived that as weakness. And that was something that I couldn't allow myself to see in myself. So at the time, I'd much rather be like a raving lunatic, like so angry. And like, you can actually, like, this can sound weird to anybody who hasn't experienced it, but you can feel it damaging you, like if your hand was on fire and you were feeling the skin getting damaged. Like, you were feeling the damage that you were doing to yourself or allowing to happen, yet you were like, can we swear on this podcast? You were like, oh, fuck that. I'm pushing through this. Like, I'm tougher than this. So that was rough.
Yeah, and I had that, the pushing through mentality I had for a long time. It was really when I got to that just horrible burnout that I was like, willing to confront a supervisor. And to their credit, they would give us some time off. It was never enough. It was never enough sleep after that. And it was honestly so late in the shift. It's like, well, we're off in 3 hours anyway. It made little to no difference. But that was a tough scenario, being on a private ambulance, working on a 48-hour shift, contracted to be in a more rural location where theoretically the call volume is low, but they can still use you to backfill the urban areas.
Which they did.
Yeah, all the time.
The call volume was low, but your calls tended to be higher acuity, and the transports were very long. And if the weather was such that you couldn't call a helicopter, you were with a really sick patient for a really long time, to include like what we dread the most, really sick pediatric patients. And so the stress of that being your next call was omnipresent.